Water scares me.
Megan Casey, will you just talk so I can hear you to make sure my volume isn't out of control?
Yes, testing. Can you hear me?
That works.
It don't feel so far away. It don't feel so far away. Yeah. Well, I was cruising down the street right out by the beach, 2 Birkenstocks on my feet. Yeah, I was walking through the park till past after dark, thinking, where am I supposed to be? I may have gone too far away past the boulevard, but I still see you in my dreams. I figure I could be wherever, long as I can feel the weather and know that you never really feel so far away. It don't feel so far away. It don't feel so far away. It don't feel so far away. Swimming in the deep blue, got the seashells at my feet. Yeah, I was floating with the waves, soaking up a summer day, feeling all the colors in the breeze. I may have gone too far away past the boulevard, but I still see you in my dreams. I figure I could be wherever, long as I can feel the weather and know that you never really feel so far away. It don't 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 feel so far away. I'm feeling closer, my baby. Feeling close to you lately. Feeling closer, my baby. Feeling close to you lately. I'm feeling closer, my baby. Feeling close to you lately. Feeling closer, my baby. Feeling close to you lately. I'm feeling closer, my baby. Feeling close to you lately. Feeling closer, my baby. Feeling close to you lately. I'm feeling closer, my baby. Feeling close to you lately. Feeling closer, my baby. Feeling close to you lately. move slow in all the right places. I've been up all night staying true to my phases. If you need some company, I'll be on the move. Catch me walking in circles with both sides of the moon. It's about time, I'm in line, I'm packed up. Realign my moves right, I shine brighter, breathe higher, take flight. It's like just for a moment, I can't feel my mind. Just for a moment, I got my eyes closed. I'm from the city where they drive slow. Never tripping about where life goes, spinning like a rhino, moving with the time zone, the time zone. Throw all my words up in the air, burn like a fire to a flare. Fall from a start to anywhere, moments that I can't take. Head out the window, liberate. Let the wind speak from miles away. See what the colors have to say. When I pull in my lane, I let my head spin till I don't know why. I left my plans on red just to feel alive.
All right, here we go. Good morning, KW Milwaukee. For those of you live in person at a KW office location, and for those of you jumping in on the Zoom, all 81 of you plus, welcome this morning to a hot and steamy Tuesday morning in August. Couple things I just want to address up front for the group. One, as it relates to COVID and the situation that's going on in the world. Right? And I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole here. I just want you guys to know that we're monitoring the situation from a daily basis to try and figure out how to best serve you and your clients. I have access to the North Shore Health Department dashboard as it relates to cases and things like that. I'm constantly, the ironic thing of the whole thing is I use this grocery store script. I talk to Teddy Balistreri, the family that owns Sendix, frequently because I always like to know what Sendix is going to do as a good barometer. I always say the grocery store is usually the first one that's going to pull a lever, and they're a good backup or just good sounding board for me in terms of what we do from a perception wise and making sure that we're keeping people safe. Now, I will say this too. I also totally understand and recognize and respect that there are some people with health concerns and will stay home, and know this. If you're staying home, totally cool. We're all for it, and we'll continue to serve you at the highest possible level. One other follow-up note to that, Mega Camp in Austin, Texas. If you have been living under a rock and didn't know, Texas and Florida, COVID incidence rates have really skyrocketed. So Keller Williams International has decided to move Mega Camp to all virtual for those that were planning to attend in person, which is about 20 people from our group locally. We are at this moment still planning to host the live KW Milwaukee one. It'll be about 200 people, and it's spread out across about 10 to 15,000 square feet. So we'll make sure that we're continuing to monitor it over the next couple of weeks, but know that Milwaukee Mega Camp is still planning to go on in person with some really cool stuff to bring people together and mastermind and learn from each other. Cool. Know this, guys, it's a very fluid situation. We'll stay on top of it. And if anything changes, you'll hear it directly from me and nowhere else. Cool. Yes. What's your one comment?
My one comment is really need to check the Sendix because there's a strong Sendix in the location of each of our marine centers.
That's why, and Teddy and I sit on a board together, so we converse frequently. But yes, there's a Sendix in every single one of our markets, so that I kind of look to him and he looks to me to what are we going to be doing together. So anyways, moving on from that, last week we had an incredible opportunity to hear from Julia Lachey Israel, who is the director of Keller Williams. She calls it director of people, but really her big focus is on the diversity and inclusion strategy for Keller Williams International across the globe. She gave a really, I thought, thoughtful and insightful conversation for 2 hours on Wednesday around the color of real estate. I'm going to give you two things. One, I'm going to give you kind of some high level things that you guys should be thinking about from a business strategy standpoint as it relates to this topic. And two, I'm going to plant some seeds for you to what you should be thinking about as it relates to this topic. The first hour of the conversation was spent on history and federal policies and to help us understand as to why we have gotten to where we are as a country today. And we looked at a lot of graphs, charts, and figures, which I was hoping to have, but I don't. So I'm hoping to get those from her as it relates to the gaps in homeownership across various different, sex, races, ethnicities, this, that, and the other. And then talked about how policies over the last, let's just call it 100 years, have kind of shaped the way that America is today as it relates to homeownership, and then how we play a part in helping be a part of the future to help solve some of the issues that have been long standing, that a lot of it, quite frankly, I wasn't even aware of as it relates to why some of the things that occurred. One other thing that I'm going to be sending out in the backside, and we've talked about this and shared this before, but she went a little bit, she shared a little bit around the Newsday documentary called Testing the Divide, where they had testers go out in Long Island, New York to test implicit biases to make people aware of what they do and how they show up. It's a 40-minute documentary with a few other videos afterwards that go in depth, where they show, a Black person going in, a white person going in, an Asian person going in, asking for the same demographics in terms of the home they're looking for and the same income levels and all these sorts of things, and showing their experiences. So we went a little bit into the Newsday documentary. I'm going to be sending that out again. I've sent this out before. If you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to watch it. The biggest thing I think you'll take away from it is understanding and being aware to implicit biases that happen, because it's something that we need to be. Consistency was probably the biggest key theme to our conversation. So what were some of my key takeaways of the recap from the conversation last week around the color of real estate with Julia? Here's what you need to know and things that I would be paying attention to. One, just right off the top, 60% of fair housing violations occur because of people with disabilities. You would think it was a lot of other things, but disabilities, as it relates to how we serve clients with disabilities, 60% of the fair housing violations that have been caught, right, or have been turned in are because of people with disabilities. Next, this was my biggest takeaway from the conversation around the Newsday documentary. Steering is not hard to do, okay? Not steering is far more of an intentional muscle to flex. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. Steering is really not hard to do. And trust me, I've been guilty of it. I've caught myself saying things. I'm like, man, that was really dumb. I shouldn't be doing that. Not steering and being far more intentional, purposeful with our words and actions is a much more difficult muscle to flex. And just like, if you were to go work out tomorrow, you wouldn't go to the bench press and bench press 300 pounds. You'd bench press 40 or 50 and you'd work your way up to 100 to 200 to 300, right? Same thing as it relates to not steering. It's a muscle that we have to flex and be aware of to make sure that we're not steering or creating any sort of implicit biases that really could impact not only your clients, but your reputation as well. Next up there was a very interesting conversation around when people say the phrase, I don't see color, I don't see color. What they're actually saying is they may not see the inequities that exist. And people need to recognize the fact that you hear it all the time. It's a really easy defense mechanism of, oh, I don't see color, I don't see color. But what you're actually saying is you don't understand or may not see the inequities that exist within our marketplace. A big thing that we talked about for a long time is consistency in your approach is key, okay? Consistency in our approach with regards to our policies and procedures, and I'll give you a really good example that she talked about. There was an agent who got caught in a fair housing violation. A client called to see a house after 6 p.m. The agent was tired, wanted to go home to see their family, and just said, listen, I don't show homes after 6 p.m. The client turned the agent in. The agent was found to have shown homes after 6 p.m. previously, historically, and it became an issue, right? And so the awareness to this is, again, from a consistency standpoint, making sure that how we act and how we serve our clients is consistent, whether, and I use this example all the time, whether you're showing a $3 million client or whether you're showing a $30,000 client, your approach has to remain the same to remove any sort of biases or perceived biases with regards to your approach. Next, inconsistencies in your approach can lead to selective enforcement. You can get in trouble, just straight up. Inconsistencies in your approach can lead to selective enforcement. Don't get in your own way by being inconsistent. Okay. Now, as it related to then the conversation shifted from a strategy conversation and why is diversity and inclusion important for your businesses? Here was one of the 3 key takeaways I took from this conversation. One, a lot of people, there's a phrase, you go along to get along. And what that means is you see some things in a client that you don't really like, but you'll do it anyways because you're trying to get a deal done. At the end of the day, you're perpetuating issues, right? Don't go along to get along. Have standards and adhere to them. And as it relates to how you approach your business, you take business, and a lot of times people will take business because they shouldn't, because they don't have enough, right? And she made a point. There is no problem that lead generation cannot solve. There is no problem that lead generation cannot solve. So if you find yourself in a situation where you feel uncomfortable, don't take the business, right? Or you have a client that has made a comment and you're like, man, I really need a closing. You just need to lead generate more, okay? Have standards, adhere to them. Don't just go along to get along. Second thing, you have to understand that you must implement a diverse business strategy. Why? The population, this is a pure fact from the Census Bureau, the population is becoming more diverse, not less. The population itself is becoming more diverse, not less, right? So a diversity strategy is becoming more apparent to implement in order to reach new and broader audiences for the longevity of your business. Right? I hear oftentimes people want to 2x or 3x their business. Okay, great. I think you also have to look at it from a lens or a scope of how does diversity play in this, knowing that, okay, here's another real example. 45% of all 45% of all transactions in Southeastern Wisconsin had a first-time home buyer in 2020. Okay, first-time home buyers, far more diverse population. How are you looking at as a diversity and inclusion strategy to help you broaden your scope and broaden your audience for the longevity of your business? Next, and this hit me like a ton of bricks, you must embrace diversity or you will become obsolete. If you look at it in the next 20 years, if you don't embrace diversity, you will become obsolete. And lastly, we must learn about other people and listen to diverse viewpoints in order to remain relevant. And I would repeat that. You must learn about other people and listen to diverse viewpoints in order to remain relevant. Far too often, I see people closing the door or shutting things down because they don't like somebody said on social media, or they don't agree with them politically, or they don't agree with them from this, that, or the other, or they like chocolate ice cream and I like vanilla. Like you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in the same proportion, listen to diverse viewpoints in order to shape your perspective. And if you do that effectively, your reputation will thrive, your business will thrive, and you'll come from a place of gratitude, and you'll continue to be able to scale your business at a high level. So a 2-hour meeting on a Wednesday afternoon that a ton of people attended, those were kind of my cliff notes because I thought there was some very important and relevant content that I wanted to make sure we touched on with the group. And I'll make sure I'm going to be sending these notes out post meeting in the insights and resources email as well to really help. Again, my job in leadership, or our job with Mandy, Diana, Jen, the rest of the team, our job is to plant seeds and to make you think. And everything that we do, whether it's helping you defend your commission or think about your diversity and inclusion strategy, is to challenge the way in which you think in order for you to thrive moving forward. Cool? All right. Next up, I'm going to transition over because we skipped her last week in the essence of time. I'm going to flip it over to Lindsay Vranick for a little Tech Tuesday. So Lindsay, what do we got as it relates to staying in touch with our consumers via the KW app?
All right, guys, good morning. So my question to you is, what if Zillow was branded to you? And that's the great thing about the Keller Williams ecosystem with the KW app and the websites that are available to you. So no matter what, as long as your clients and your consumers are in that KW ecosystem searching for homes, they will be branded to you. So how does that happen? The first and easiest way is to share your KW app. And so that's what I'm going to focus on today's tech training, and then Thursday as well, is the ins and outs of that Keller Williams consumer app. So once someone downloads your branded Keller Williams app, this will automatically add them as a contact into your database in Command if they weren't already. If they were, great. If they're using that same email, they'll just be tied to that same contact and you'll be able to track their activity. So you'll also receive any notifications anytime that they log into your agent website. And like I mentioned, that you can track their saved searches and their collections. So this is done in the Keller Williams consumer app. It's also done within your agent website, which is set up through Command, as well as the kw.com website. So those three platforms, anytime that they log in, you're going to be able to track their activity. And this is great for your client. They can use the app, they can use your branded agent site, or they can log into the generic kw.com. As you can see on that last screenshot there, that's kw.com. This is me logged in as a consumer, and it's still going to recognize my agent on that website. So anytime I'm doing searches, adding to my collection, I can do all that within those three avenues. So we're going to talk about building that buyer and seller guide today. We're going to be talking about how your clients can search, how you can track that activity within Command for that client. So all of that's going to take place today in Tosa at 1 o'clock, and then the same training out in Lake Country at 11 on Thursday. So if you can't make either one of these, just book an appointment.
Awesome, Lindsay. Thanks, guys. It blows my mind. I'm going to use a phrase for you that you should write down. Clarity is power. Okay. Clarity is power, whether you have clarity to your goals, whether you have clarity to your vision, or how you leverage and analyze and utilize data and analytics to help better serve your clients. So it baffles me that we still have people using shorewest.com or ShoreWest app, or that we have people using Zillow or Trulia at all these different places. I get it. Agent or consumers are going there, and we have to help redirect them to our branded websites, mobile apps, and the such, because how many times have we had where a client says, hey, I'm looking in Lake Country at 300,000. And then all of a sudden they send you Zillow feeds of Tosa homes for 300,000. And you're like, what? I thought you wanted to only be in Waukesha County. And they're like, oh, well, I'm interested in this house in Tosa. Well, what if you were able to have that information at your fingertips and you saw in real time what they were looking at, so you knew how to best proactively communicate with your clients? It shocks me that a lot of people have not figured this out yet. And those that have, big shout out to Kevin Gardy, are closing deals and growing their business at 100% clip because he understands how to serve his clients in a proactive manner. Guys, I highly challenge you, and I would encourage you to check this out. And if you need some help, book an appointment with Lindsay or show up to her Tuesday, Thursday tech training classes, because it's an incredibly useful tool to help you track in your client's activity to help serve them at the highest level. Cool. Thanks, Lindsay. All right, Kadi. Leverage is the new hustle. We've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. We've been working on a few things in the background. Let's give these guys a few updates as it relates to leverage is the new hustle around marketing aspects and key, please.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. Yes. So I won't spend as much time with you guys on this. I do want to point you though at a really great resource that Lindsay has created. So we created a YouTube video to show you guys how to use the Marketing Concierge. The really cool thing about it is she walks through it, and the video is less than 7 minutes long. So the fact that she went through the whole process and ordered a full marketing suite for a new listing in under 7 minutes means that that's what you guys can do too. So check it out. The video is in the YouTube channel under Tech Training Playlist. So if you're nervous about getting in there and checking it out, go watch the video and just start playing around with it. And if you want to sit with Lindsay or I to do your first order, we're happy to do so. One follow-up as well, Charlie, on the next slide is a lot of you have been using our print partner FedEx, which is awesome. However, you have to use the phone number that's listed on this sheet in order to get the best pricing. So Charlie, if you just want to click a little bit so that that number comes up here larger. This is the shop that has our discounted pricing that's not even in the system. So you can pick it up at any FedEx location, but you have to order it through this one specific location in order to take advantage of like the really low pricing. So I just wanted to make sure that people were calling through that number, and then you just tell them which location you want to pick it up at, and they'll organize that for you. A lot of clicks there. All right. Lastly, we're going to talk about the other leverage piece of KeyPlease. We have some success stories over the weekend. So we did have a few clunks, you know, getting people set up with the right settings and making sure that notifications were coming through and all of that. There's people in there, they're sending requests and they're accepting requests. So instead of hearing it from me, Aletha, if you want to come off mute and let us know about your experience with it. I know you used it this weekend.
Yeah, sure. It was super easy. I just had showing requests on a list and a buy side at the same time. Obviously can't be in two places at one time. So I just put it in KeyPlease, and within about 3 minutes had somebody lined up to take one of those appointments rather than having to like check back with Facebook. Obviously we're all busy, so we're not on our Facebook app as much as we are just on our phones in general. So yeah, another agent had notifications on and accepted it, and all the information was already in there, so she didn't need anything else, and it was super, super easy.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Aletha. I appreciate it. Sure. So if anyone has any issues with KeyPlease, just reach out to me. I'm happy to help get you set up to make sure that you know, hustle is really working for you and you're working less. So appreciate you jumping on.
Hey guys, it's Kathleen. Hope you guys can hear me. Can I get a yes?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I'm your Director of Education Training. We are in the second week of a jam-packed month of August. A lot of content for you guys to pour into. I wanted to start with Amanda and Janine. Are you guys there?
Yeah, J9.
So we're going to, first of all, we're going to lead gen on Thursday, but we're also going to go over some new scripts for the shifting market that's occurring. Not so many multiple offers on homes. Buyers are a little hesitant. So we've got some new scripts for that. Come Thursday.
Beautiful. Schroeder, are you on? No, but Schroeder will be here at 10:30 in the North Shore to lead you. All right, we'll be back to you.
And in Lake Country on Thursday, we're doing Title 101 with Andrea Bell from Focus Title. So show up to that if you need or have any questions about how title works. Another thing I want to point you guys to on the August training calendar is the 18th at 10 a.m. That's a Wednesday, is Paul Nikolick's Defend Your Commission. Guys, all throughout the pandemic, Paul has not had to discount his services. He is the master at getting more than his fair share of commission. So if you want to know what to say to sellers to make sure that you're not, or that you're getting your fair share, make sure you tune into Paul's Defend Your Commission. Tomorrow we have a really great event. I think we have a slide. Yep. Opportunity Knox is at Dandy from 3 to 5 p.m. tomorrow. If you've ever thought about joining a team, or you've ever thought about what opportunities there are on teams for yourself, please come to Opportunity Knox. All of the greatest teams at Keller Williams, Milwaukee, and Lake Country are going to be there with opportunities specifically for you guys. So please join us. It's going to be fun. There's going to be a little happy hour, cash bar. It's going to be a good time. Then we have our big kahuna at the end of the month is Mega Camp. Today is the last day to sign up for hotel spaces if you want to stay on Tuesday night. So make sure you're registering for this. It is virtual, but we're also having the in-person at Bottle House 42. And it's just networking, meeting other agents. I always walk away with a notebook full of notes that I've taken and things that I can implement into my business real time. So it's a must attend event, and there are scholarship opportunities available if anybody's in need.
Cool. Wooten, thank you. Guys, here's what I'll tell you about Mega Camp. They don't call it average camp. That's the truth. They don't call it average camp for a reason. Everybody who's presenting on stage for the most part is making over $1 million a year, and they're going to help you understand how they scaled their business in a variety of different ways. When we talked about diversity of thought is also extremely important, and making sure that you're hearing from people outside of our small world in Milwaukee to help you raise your game. So there you go. It's not average camp, it's Mega Camp. Learn from the megas. Cool. Hope to see everybody there. All right, now I'm jumping into the language of real estate, the Lore report. And as Janine talked about a little bit of a shifting market, right? I would challenge you to think it's not so much of a shifting market as it is the water is rising. Rising tides lifts all ships. And when people hear shift, they start to freak out, okay? We don't need to freak out. We have really healthy metrics, and you need to understand what's going on in the market in order to be proactive in your communication with your clients to mitigate any sort of future issues or the freak out moment for your clients, right? Here's my reminders of the market of the moment. And I share these every single month, and it shocks me how often people forget them. But the market is deceptive. It is a humbling market. Great markets don't last, great agents do. And you're not in it to have a great year. You're in it to build a great career. So here we go. What's going on in the market of the moment? Here is the recap going all the way back to January of 21 versus 20, month over month over month over month. What you can see in the color coordinated columns, and again, I've gone over this every single month, but for some of you, this may be new or you weren't listening to me, and that's your problem. So here you go. The lead metrics are the most important metrics in your business that you need to be paying attention to. So listings taken units and contracts written units. Why are those the two most important ones I pay attention to? Because the agent controls their units. The market gives you your volume. So when you look here in terms of how I'm projecting my future income or how I'm projecting where the market is going, if you look, okay, in May, the market of May of 21 versus May of 2020, listings taken units was up 7.7%. Contracts written, buyer contracts written units was up 14%. Where does that lead to? A really healthy June. June was up 23% on closings and units and up 44% on volume. Now, if you look ahead in June of 21 versus 20, we had really solid listings taken units this year versus last year, because last year was soft as everybody was coming out of the COVID market. Where we started to see a little bit of a softness was when contracts written units were only up 4%, when in the last 6-7 months, they've been up double-digit percentages. So where does that show up? It shows up in July with closed units that were down just slightly less than flat, even though closed sales volume was up 12%. So what do I make of what's going on right now in the market of the moment? Here's what you need to know. Listings taken units up 3.3% is actually a really good sign. Here's why. July and August last year is when we saw the slingshot effect of spring coming out of what we missed in the spring. So we have tough comps and tough hurdles coming up in August and September. To see that buyer contracts written units were up 10% and volume was up 18%, makes me very, very bullish again as we look ahead into August and September in terms of activity in units. Okay. Now, how does this relate to the marketplace? Let's look at months of supply. As a reminder, a balanced market is 6 months of supply. July, and for perspective, I'm going to compare July of this year versus July of 2019, because 2019 was the slingshot effect. So you're going to continue to see me do this as we move forward in August, September, October. Okay, so July of 2019, there was 3 months of supply of total inventory. July of 2021 was 1.8 months of supply. Good news, bad news. Bad news is we're still incredibly low. Good news is when you consider that May of 21 was the lowest we had, May and 21 was the lowest months of supply we had seen in 2 years. We're starting to climb back at a very slow pace, but it's all positive momentum. Now, how is this impacting the days on market? This is important for sellers to understand, so we're proactive in our communication. When you look at it, homes are selling in the month of July of 21, as a typo, my apologies, July of 21 versus July of 2019. July was still the second lowest days on market metric recorded in over 2 years. Again, May of 21 was the lowest. There's a theme here, and I'm going to go to it here in a second to help you understand what's going on. Now, sales absorption. This is the percentage of inventory that goes under contract. It's an indication of demand, right? July of 2019 was 23% of the total inventory went under contract. July of 21, 34% of the total inventory went under contract. Why is this important? Here's what you need to know. If you were to just look at this on a surface level, you'd say, gosh, the market seems to be slowing. Wrong. Here's why. When you look at it in July of 21, when 33% of the inventory went under contract, let's look at all of 2020. Okay. The peak sales absorption rate happened in August of 2020 at 32.8% of the inventory went under contract. The fact that we're still at 33.7% and last year was the best year in residential real estate history in southeastern Wisconsin, and we still continue to have this high level of sales absorption, means there's lots of activity going on. There's just more inventory on the market. Okay, so what you need your sellers to understand was the peak of the hyper competitive market peaked in May. So if their expectation is, and I alluded to this last week of a friend of ours who sold their house with a RE/MAX agent, which was their first mistake. Their second mistake was they were hoping to get 10 to 15 to 20 offers. And I said to this person, your perspective is wrong. That's come and gone now. We're in a really healthy market and you got a great offer. Be excited about the fact that you got a great offer. But the peak of the hyper competitiveness to the market happened in May when inventory was down 35% and buyer activity or sales absorption was at 43%. We've never had anything close to almost half of the inventory going under contract, right? So my point to this commentary is the activity within the marketplace is still really, really healthy. It's just there's more inventory being had. So we have to right-size seller expectations as it relates to pricing and as it relates to activity. Because the greedy seller will not sell. Just know that. If you don't have a sharp pencil as it relates to your pricing, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Okay. All right. I hammer that home because I keep hearing about people think the market's soft. The market's not soft. It's crazy healthy. You're just not looking at it in the right way. And we need to communicate this to our clients. Again, you need to provide your clients unique insights and unique experiences. That's my goal, is to give you the insights. You're in charge of the experience. Okay, here you go. Units under contract. When you look at it, July of this year versus July of 2019, it's 11% increase versus July of 2019. Okay, so when you look at it, July was a really, really healthy month as it relates to units under contract. Now, for historical perspective, it was down 8% versus July of 2020. Again, when you look at it, I say, so what? Because from a historical perspective, July was still really, really strong, which is why I'm comparing it to 2019 of a more historical normal market. Okay. Now, when we look at closed units for July of 21 versus July of 2019 were up 11%. July had the second highest closed units in 21 and one of the highest in the last 2 years. Okay. The market is healthy. Now, new inventory units. When you look at it, we could have peaked in total new inventory in the month of June at 4189. Last month, there was 3505. When you look at this across the entire metric over the last 2 years, okay, we peaked for 21, but when you look at July was 3505, last year's peak was 3500. So again, perspective is important on the marketplace to say there was still a ton of new inventory that came to the marketplace when you compare it versus prior years. So don't look at the dip as a bad dip because the watermark is still relatively high versus the last 24 months from a comparison standpoint. Okay. Second highest number of new unit inventory units in the last 2 years, only behind June of 21. So if you combine those 2 months, it was the two highest consecutive months of new inventory, June of July. So if you have buyers that have a little bit of fatigue, it's a great story to tell, okay? To keep people motivated in the marketplace. Now, expired inventory down 29% versus July 2019. Things are moving efficiently through the marketplace. That's pretty much what you need to know. Right now, total inventory, it bottomed out in February of 21. Last month, there were 7,956 unique units that were on the market. And again, a third of them went under contract. We're currently, and we continue to be in recovery mode as it relates to total inventory. And we'll want to continue to see this spike as we head into the fall to help climb out of what the spring caused us to happen of last year. We're still, as it relates to July of this year versus July of 2019, down about 24%. Considering that in the spring, we were down around 39 to 40%, that's pretty good recovery. And we hope to be down, you know, I would love to see this number down 10 to 15% by year end. And if we can get there, with 2022 could be a really, really good year. I don't have that crystal ball, but it's just something I'll be paying attention to. All right, last couple metrics for you as it relates to the health and activity within the marketplace. Now we're going to look at pricing, and I'm going to look at pricing across 3 metrics. I'm going to give you the average price across the southeastern Wisconsin metro area over the last of July of this year versus July of 2019. I'll give you the median, which is taking everything on a page and then giving you directly in the middle of what happened. And then I'll give you price per square foot. So when you look at the average this year was 318K. That's up 21% versus July of 2019. When you look at the median is 268K. That's the direct middle of the market. Okay. That's up 22%. Right? You can see what's going on with the impacts of supply and demand forces as it relates to price appreciation. Now, as it relates to price per square foot, why do we pay attention to price per square foot? Because it's a static metric. Okay. When you look at it, price per square foot's up 18%. So as it relates to your sellers who may be having a freak out moment that they missed the hyper competitive market, guess what? All you have to do is show them that home appreciation values just on an average basis have appreciated 20% over the last 2 years. Guess what? Mr. and Mrs. Seller or whoever, you're totally fine. Don't worry about it. Trust me in my process, and we need to make sure that our pricing is effective, and we will find you the right buyer to maximize the return on your investment. Cool. All right, here we go. Now jumping in, I will briefly run through, and I will make sure to send this out, is the language of real estate report as it relates to brokerage activity and how the brokerages are comparing within the marketplace. Shore West, the number 1 player in the market at 15.6% market share, which used to be above 22%, by the way, just FYI, is up 14% year to date in a market that's up 24% so far year to date. Success is outpacing the market average. So firms that are outpacing plus 24% growth are taking market share. Firms that are below 24% growth are losing market share. So, and again, this is purely just a factual basis. I'm not making any sort of dismissive comments about competition or our peers. I'm just providing you the factual information. KW so far year to date across all locations, all agents in the southeastern Wisconsin metro area up 44%, 12.8% of the market share. First Weber up 23%. Their market share is pretty much flat as you compare to the marketplace. Remax only up 4% year to date. That's not a very good number if I were in that position. Coldwell Banker up 19, Realty Execs up 17. Again, both of those losing market share within the marketplace. And then you can see rounding out the top 10 at about 1% market share. Those guys are seeing actually pretty good growth rates across southeastern Wisconsin. When you look here, when you break it off by office locations, again, success is outpacing the market average and what your peer group is doing. Big shout out to the group at Innovation, up 158% so far in a rolling 12 months. The Prestige Group, which just had their grand opening last week, up 71%, the newest location over in Germantown. When you look at the Lake Country crew, up 89%. The Southwest crew up 41%, and then the juggernaut within the southeastern Wisconsin industry and a group of people that absolutely kill it every single day, guys, up 52% across the latest 12 months. It is a testament to not only what you guys do on an everyday basis, but what you do to support each other to be successful. So I highly, highly congratulate everybody across all the locations. It's good stuff. Here, I'll briefly run through this, guys. This is the lower report across year-to-date 21, KW North Shore versus the Metro MLS. Again, the ones that I'm paying attention to the most, right? When you talk about that Giannis quote, what you did in the past is your ego. What you do in the future is your pride. What you're doing in the present is your humility. What you're doing in the present, listings taken units up 18%, 10-point difference versus the market. Contracts written units up 40%, up almost 30%, almost basis points versus the marketplace. Highly productive group of people. They're absolutely killing it. And again, if I can't make another plug enough, you should be at Mega Camp, not Average Camp. And if you want to be at Mega Camp, you be amongst the peers that are setting the pace for the industry. Okay. If you want to be average, be somewhere else. That's what I'll tell you. All right, here we go. As it relates to our peer group across the North Shore, here you can see the growth rates against our peers in the North Shore. Now, jumping into Lake Country, same thing. Listings taking units, what you guys are doing for the future to secure future business, up 75% when the market's up 8. Listings taken volume up 46%. Listings taken volume in the market up 11. Contracts written units for buyer side up 99% when the market's only up 9.8%. Again, if you want to be a mega, learn from those who are doing it at the highest level. Congrats to everybody in Lake Country for a killer month in the month of July and so far year to date. You can see here as it compares to the peer group, and I'll make sure to send this out. One thing I do want to point out, because there does seem to be a trend within the industry that a lot of people like pumping their chest around what they're doing to help people become productive. Here's the one thing I'd tell you to pay attention to. I find it really ironic that no one sources their information. No one sources where they're getting their information. And the reason why I point this out is you'll always see everything that I always do. You can see right down here, the exact source, the time frame where I'm pulling it from. There's no secrets to the numbers. Okay. So I had a few people text me this week with some advertising that some friends down the street were doing. And I just said, look at the source. And they said, there is no source. I said, that's all you need to know about the data they're presenting. Okay. So I will always provide you the source information as it relates to the story that we're telling so that you understand and that you can see exactly the property types, the source type, the counties that it's being pulled in so that you can see it across all of it. So
yeah.
That's my only comment that I will make there. Someone seems excited about source information.
Comment on that, the Lake Country number you were just showing. Can you go back there?
Yeah, you got to remember, they can't hear you. Yeah, we can go back to it. All right, Tosa, Elm Grove, Brookfield. Guys, over in the innovation space, continuing to grow at an unbelievable clip. Look at that growth trends versus the peer group. Again, success is outpacing the market average, and I'll make sure to send this out to the group. All right. As it relates to why all of this stuff matters for me, here's what it matters for me. And again, this is a little bit of what closed units are your lag metrics. It means what you've closed to get to the income that you've gotten to today. But it's something that also should be stopped and celebrated and recognized, because I don't think you guys understand the level of productivity that amongst the peers that you sit amongst. Here's what you need to know. In the month of July alone, we paid out $6.9 million to you and your families. Okay. This was up 42% versus July of 2020. Okay. Now, year to date, we've paid almost $33 million in gross commission incomes to you and your families. Okay. When you compare it to versus 2020 over the same time period, it's a 51% increase in the income that you all are earning. And if I can make one other plug, August 18th, I would highly recommend that you jump on the Zoom, because here's what I also know. More of you are discounting your commissions and giving away your dollars. And I understand it's a competitive market, but you need to understand the language and the dialect as to how to protect your income. Because these numbers could actually be better if we didn't see as much discounting as we are. So stay tuned, because we're going to be hammering that point home, because when people discount, they aren't clearly communicating their value proposition. And in the absence of value, people choose price. Okay. Here we go. As it relates to profit share, and this will be paid out on August 21st. What's coming at you? $118,000 is going to be paid out on August 21st. It is flat to last year. It's not a bad thing. It's because of some of the yo-yo effect of the way our financials worked last year with the slingshot impact. Here's what you also need to know. Year to date, $673,000 is being paid out in the form of profit share to KW agents. It's an 88% increase versus year to date 2020. Again, Guys, one of the biggest things that I want you to hear, and you'll see this more so on the profit share slide versus anywhere else, is we now have some comps and hurdles that are going to be coming up in September, October, November that we otherwise historically would never have seen because of what happened last year. So some of this will begin to start to stabilize as we have some of those fall hurdles, depending on where the market goes. But the market's really healthy and everyone should be really excited about getting after it with them and their clients. Cool. Essentially, one other little tidbit, almost 20% of the total profit share for the year will be paid out on August 21st. So check your bank accounts on August 21st, or I'm sure you'll get a text from me in advance or Diana giving you a heads up on what's coming down the pike. It's probably one of my favorite days of the month, just as a heads up. All right, guys, one other thing is a reminder. I send you very, very, very few emails. Like almost never do I send you an email because I know how many emails you get and I don't want to bog you down. However, there is one email I send you once a week where I try and put everything into it. And it's the KW and Insights Resources email that comes from myself and Diana every single week. Oftentimes I get questions and I'm like, oh, hey, did you see it in here? Oh, hey, did you see it in here? Everything you ever need is in this one email. And the reason why I only send one email a week is because I try and put it all into one place. So you only have to look in one place. So make sure you're checking this out. It usually comes out Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning, depending on how much stuff we got to collect to put in there. But if you ever have any questions or you're looking for any resources, be sure to check out the Insights and Resources email from myself or Diana that comes out on Tuesday afternoons or Wednesday morning. All right, here we go. I will give you the Kentucky Derby as a recap to the awards and results for July of 21. Again, when you look at the fact that we paid out 42% of more gross commission incomes earned this year versus last year, that's ridiculous growth for a lot of people. And we want to celebrate you. And we will also make sure that we're posting it this afternoon for you guys to share with friends, families, and clients. Okay, here we go. Running into it. July Home Run Club. Why do I think this is the most important one? Because it meant you got paid in July and you're going to get paid again in the future. This is one listing taken, one contract written, one contract closed. There is a bunch of the usual suspects who are on here. And if you're not a usual suspect on here, it means you had a tough month. So for those of you who are the usual suspects, and a lot of you know who you are, congrats. But a few people I want to shout out. Amy Lauer, Benji Cohen, Chrissy Klasky, Gabby Borowski, Gail Ganley, Ginger Lazovic, Holly Gamblin, JOC, Jamie Old Coyote, Jennifer Smith, newbie who went through a little bit of a transition with everything he has going on in life. He doesn't have enough going on, but he was able to get a home run club in the month of July. Julie Bulgren, Casey Lopez, Kelly Nicolancy, Laura Bolton, Kristen Schlingman, Lisa Eastman, Matt Lozniecki, Mike Legend, Nancy Meeks, Nick Janicek, Robin McCormick, SJD, Sarah Jo Dietrich, Mundi, Sarah Monday, congrats, Sarah Reardon, Sharon Warsh, TJC, Tamika Jones-Clay, and T. Rose, Timothy Rose, congrats, brother, on a home run club in the month of July. Now, $1 Million Month Club. These are probably the people who are getting paid handsomely in the month of July and those who saw big increases in their GCI. Handful of people I want to call out. Andrews and Koenig, congrats. Betsy Williamson, Bridget Ty, Celia De Silva, Danielle Forrest, G2 with Guy and George, Alyssa Burkhoff, Nevs, congrats, Katie Thomas, Kirsten Lindstrom, Lauren Foy, the ladies of Bark River with Katie Tesmer and Nicole McGonigal, Ross Treffert, Steph Miller, the Wilds, Dan is Wild and Sherry is Wilder, and the Wright Group. Guys, congrats on $1 million month in the month of July, along with so many of the usual suspects. All right, I'm flipping it over to Deej to give us a recap for the Lake Country crew.
You guys, look at these names may seem familiar to you. You've seen their performance has been consistent across the board. Annie Stabler, 2.1, Nikki Kunick, 1.6, Robin McCormick, hats off, 1.5. Year to date, Annie Stabler, Robin McCormick, and John Lorenz creeping up there at 6.6. You guys control your units, right? 22, John Lorenz, hats off, Nikki Kunick, 20, and Robin McCormick, 14. Congrats, everybody. Love it. Teams, Gallagher Lake Country, 7.6 for the month of July. Cluster Property Group shows up at 4.7 and Team Trimble at 4.1. I love seeing those numbers close, a little competition there. Year to date, Gallagher Lake Country at 36.5, Team Trimble at 20.5, Cluster Property Group at 18.7. Way to go, you guys. Units, 57, Cluster Property Group. And you see the rest there, 38.27 for Team Trimble and Gallagher Lake Country. So congrats, and thank you for leading the market center and the charge out here. I love it. So good.
Beautiful. All right, jumping over to North Shore and the innovation crew for July individual volume. Big shout out to Alyssa Burkhoff, Jill Fink, Betsy Williamson, right? 1.5 mil. Congrats, Betsy. Sarah Oberbrunner, Carla Florence, Bridget Ty, Brian Schweppe, Joey Carini, Lindsay Weber, John Molitor. Here's one thing I want to point out on this top 10 in the month of July. 2 of these people have been in business less than 6 months. Okay. Just follow the model, lead gen your butt off, and everything else will take care of itself. Congrats to Betsy and to Bridget for an incredible month. All right, next up, year-to-date individual units. As Deej said, agents control their units. Market gives you volume. Molitor setting the pace at 33 closed units so far, with Oberbrunner clipping at his heels at 30. Fetting having his best year ever in residential real estate. He's already made more GCI this year than he has in any of his previous 8 years in the industry. Nick Fetting, congrats to you and your family. Carini, Julie Licken, Schweppe, B. Pat, Alyssa Burkhoff, Heather Townsend showing up, Lindsay Weber, Bridget Ty, Stephen G, Andrea Carvello. Now, individual volume year to date, again, Molitor setting the pace at 10.6 mil with Oberbrunner right clipping at his heels. And you can see the remainder of the top 10. Big shout out to Carla Florence, Julie Litkin having a nice year for individual volume year to date so far in 2021. Now, jumping over to our teams. Coolest part about the teams, these teams aren't average teams, they're mega teams, and they'll all be at Mega Camp. So July team volume, Falk Grove and Gallagher having their best month ever in July at 28.4 million, JSG at 22.6, Stolly Realty Group at 6, Double Bolt. Come on, Corey, I see you. Let's go, Corey. 5.7. Key Home with Amanda and her team, Nicollet Group, Duval Group, Siemens, Desties, and G2 of Brian George rounding out the top 10 for the month of July. Right? Next up, year-to-date team units. The teams control their units. The market gives their volume. JSG leading the pack, 258 closed units so far year-to-date. Big shout out to Kevin Gardy and the team of Kristen Cole Network, 55 closed units. The Zeman Group at 44. The Nicollet Group rounding out the top 10 at 39 units. And so far here, you can see year-to-date team volume across the major metro teams. And again, what I love to see is this group right in here that are always in a tight competition. But again,
No pressure.
we don't have average camp. We only have mega camp. And if you want to be around those that are megas, we'll see you at mega camp at the end of the month. All right, guys, that is the Lore Report, your market stats, your insights, and everything you need to know as it relates to KW this week. Be sure to check out the Insights and Resources email. Lake Country Crew, I'll let you shoot over to the Lake Country Meetup. North Shore and Innovation Crew, I will switch over to new buyer needs, new listings and buyer needs. Guys, have a great freaking week. See you guys.